Hello, and welcome to the Kent Teams Reflection with myself, James, and Dan.
Hello, good evening, James. Welcome. Well, thank you for
Excellent.
being online at this time of the evening.
It's fine. This was still before I got home each day, so this is early.
True.
Uh,
While comparatively early, I must confess, through a sequence of events, I covered and then slightly participated in a cross-country run this afternoon while wearing a three-piece suit and some Wellington boots. So I'm even more tired because that's what my legs needed after the weekend was to run some cross-country.
yeah. I then set up another event, much less interesting, and much quicker. One whole table, so that was much more straightforward. And I was in and out in 30 minutes, so that was good. So, first of all, obviously, this weekend that's just gone, so the 8th and 9th, there we go. I know what days it happened. We held the Kent Teams event, which is the largest event that's happened in Kent for Warhammer 40k that we know of. It might have been a really quiet one that happened, who knows.
Quite a
So there was
152 player event that's taken place that neither of us have ever heard of.
I mean, but the event was quiet. But we'll come on to that. So yeah, 150 person event held at the University of Kent in their sports centre, which you can see pictured on the screen is kind of actually what the hall space looked like. And yeah, so we're going to kind of run through our thoughts on the event, as well as kind of the future, and yeah, go from there basically.
Cool. And I'll kick off then, if you don't mind.
Mhm.
Just my broad thoughts. And I say we've not really we've done this evening sort of a bit off the cuff. We weren't sure our schedules were gonna
Align.
correlate this week. Yeah. But having run events for just over 3 years now, that was probably one of the smoothest, if not the smoothest, that we've run, or certainly I've participated in to date. And that's with 150 plus players. Of my subdued tone probably doesn't convey it now, but generally, it was absolutely fantastic. I thought we'd hit our heady heights. I thought we may have peaked with the August Kent Major, but no. If anything, I think the team's event, as I think you feel similarly, spurred me on. Certainly spurred us on to go bigger.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. I think the main thing for us was, again, the major was a can we work together, was the main hurdle that we had to overcome. So we've done that one. And then we equally had our own pre-event panics. You were worried you'd only ordered 75 tables, not the 150 we needed, because you have to join them together to make one
No, I
full-size
needed to
table.
up Thursday. It was
Yeah.
Thursday about 11 o'clock in the morning, and I was moving to a classroom, and I just had a moment of blind panic, and I thought, oh my God, what have I done maths-wise? And I had to
Mm.
stop and check the paperwork to make sure that I had ordered the appropriate amount of tables. So yes, nearly
And
threw up in the
mine
corridor
was
Thursday.
wondering if we actually had enough terrain, because it had been at least 2 or 3 weeks since I'd counted that I had enough terrain search, which then set the panic of, did I count them twice? Do we actually only have 40? So we were there till 10:30 on the Friday, just making sure everything was out, so that there were those hurdles overcome to make sure that, again, part of why it ran quite so smoothly, we kind of checked everything,
Yeah, I
Santa Claus style.
when running sort of other events, and for all kinds of reasons, of frequently you don't quite 100% get where you want to for all kinds of factors, and often I will struggle with that night's sleep if everything isn't there. But no, on the
Mm.
Friday night I did sleep like a baby because we knew that everything was good to go,
Yeah.
and then it was just getting amped up for the day. So in
Yeah.
terms of the setup and pre everything, on
Mm.
that Friday evening, I was feeling quite confident.
Yeah. Whereas I, for no apparent reason, decided not to sleep. Even though I was quite happy where we'd set everything up. We knew kind of when we were getting there, where everything was. Everything was labelled, placed. It was yeah, that was nice from our point of view.
Yeah.
The venue itself, which again was great, even prior to the event, because we'd set it all up, there was loads of space, which was, again, the feedback we'd taken on board from the major. So we kind of really doubled down on space. The room, for example, is 3 times the size. But then we also made sure that there was, between each table was about 1.5 meters, and because the wonderful company that set the tables up for us weren't quite confident on meters, they kind of over-egged. So that meant that there was lots of room for the players and for us as TOs to be able to move around the room without bumping into people or anything else like that. So that was kind of,
that was quite important
amazing
to us, that players had space, just not only for themselves and to move around the table and play the games, but also space for them to put their models.
Yes.
Maybe it's me. I'm quite spoiled. I'm a bit of a diva when it comes to playing games, but I tend to like things like space to put my models and space to move.
Yeah. And even just space to store stuff as well. Just having that space underneath the table as well, just so that your bag's not there, because it's very easy when you're moving around a kind of event to bump into things, just because you're kind of looking at what's going on around, because it's, there's a lot going on. I liked the fact that there was enough space between the teams, but it was not too much that it was a marathon to go and see what was happening within the team itself, so you could go check on the player at the other end. What did you think of the atmosphere?
So I loved the atmosphere. I thought it was fantastic. Anyone listening or viewing this right now, particularly sort of long-term people that participated in Gothic events, may recall when I ran my first Golden Ticket event a few years ago, and the trepidation was that, having built up what I felt was a really positive culture for match play events, and the worry was that by making a Golden Ticket event, that culture might shift. But it didn't. It remained friendly, and again, that's down to players, particularly sort of local players that sort of have bought into that. And again, that stuck true to the major. The major sort of maintained that culture. If anything, the teams have sort of has built in it. So again, that trepidation from my point of view of, will the culture change? Does teams, by its nature, attract a different type of player? No, everyone was absolutely fantastic. So in terms of atmosphere, and I use the word culture quite a lot, but it just felt really positive and really fantastic. So from that perspective, I was really happy. Yourself?
For me, the atmosphere was also, as a weird one at an event, is that it was calm. Not to say that normally events are utter chaos, but the acoustics of the room is kind of the only thing that really we have as an explanation point. There was 150 people in the room, but it never felt like it, in that sense that you could talk. And it's only been a day, and kind of, 2 in theory, since the event, and I have my voice fully and completely. I have my hearing, and it was really nice being able to talk and not lose my voice and not have to raise it, because the acoustics meant, because of the carpet on the floor and the weird architecture of the ceiling, it was really pleasant. You could hear people.
I don't have a benchmark to compare it to, because, well, as even my RTTs at points can sound louder than what it was at the weekend, and that was probably, of all the positive feedback, that was the one that came, I think, the quickest and most frequently, that people picked up on the noise, particularly people that do go to a lot of other events sort of across the UK. They really picked up on it. I do sympathise with those players for whom this was their first event, and then might be going to other events where maybe it isn't as quiet. Which, we thought the carpet would contribute to that, but as you say, the actual architecture of the building, the venue itself, I don't know whether that's by design or fluke or our configuration of the tables. Maybe it's WTC terrain. Maybe that just naturally absorbs sound.
Naturally absorbs sound. Yeah.
But yes, that was really, really, I think, helpful and really contributed again to it.
My other kind of positives was that I was worried that people were going to struggle to set up the terrain. So we, to the best of our ability, without making the event last for a week. We built in enough time that people could do the pairings, could do the round, play their game, and set up the terrain. So it, although I went round and helped set up a few for various reasons, on the whole, people seemed to be able to set up the terrain, which was great. And also because we built in that, you had round 1, then round 2, 3 with the same terrain, and round 4, 5 with the same deployment. So it meant that the layouts didn't have to change quite so significantly, and that worked well, which was nice to see.
Yeah, that wasn't. I remember following the major, there was some feedback about having to change the tables, and our thoughts on that at the time. Well, other majors, you have to set up the tables, so it's not like we've added this out of the blue.
No.
But I think we were a bit more conscious of it with the terrain time this time around. But again, just the nature of WTC, it is a very, very straightforward. It's not my favourite terrain set, but it's probably my second favourite terrain set to play sort of match competitive games on.
Yeah.
And yeah, once it does sort of click, it is a bit more intuitive to lay out, I think, than even some of the GW layouts if you're not using exact GW replica terrain.
Yeah. I think for a lot of things, it's what you've experienced. If you are used to setting up WTC terrain, you're going to find it easier.
Oh, easy. Yeah.
I think the biggest thing for a lot of people is a lot of people that play on WTC, if they don't do it at events, tend to do a lot of it on TTS. So they're not actually used to measuring it because the computer does it all nicely for them. But yeah, on the whole, there wasn't anything, and people were able to, and myself and Dan, we wandered around just to check things like containers were on the table, things like that. So yeah, it was generally all round kind of went really well. One of the other things, we had the Glory to the Femperor team join us, who kind of are friends with part of Black Crow Gaming. They came down, bless them. One of them was quite north. There's something like a 3.5 hour drive she had to make to come down.
Yeah,
but it's
quite a journey.
To our knowledge, and based on the Black Crow Gaming post, it's the first teams event with a full girls team, which is quite a nice little thing for us to have kind of had, purely from a diversifying kind of the tournament scene, and kind of making everyone feel welcome, which is kind of what we want. So that was great. And then
even in addition to that, so I mean, they weren't even. I mean, there was there were some players there that was their first event ever.
Oh, yeah, there was a whole team.
They were in good company with
team.
teams,
yeah.
but again, from our perspective, it's always been something that's been crucial. Is to but players that are going to attend events are going to attend events, and they're going to attend the events they like. Crucially, we want to open up to players that have never considered events before. And dare I say, a few years ago that there was perhaps a negative connotation, not necessarily 40k in particular, but just with events, maybe wargaming in general. Again, I think not just 40k in particular, but that perception is broken down. But again, that was really crucial to us, that the event was welcoming, friendly, well-being. Again, is sort of given both our backgrounds as well, quite important to us. If we want people to have a positive time, a positive experience at the tabletop and as part of the whole thing.
Yeah. So, and that was, again, the feedback I've had from some people whereby there was another team, it was literally their first event. They didn't place up the top, but they learnt a lot. They really enjoyed the event, and one of the things they kind of fed back to me was actually that even the players that were higher skilled than them were patient, took the time to explain things, and didn't get annoyed, which was their worry coming to it as their first event, that if they took more than 10 seconds to roll the dice, someone would scoff, have a go, whatever. But kind of to hear the feedback that actually the community supported each other is
I think there is a fair point there. And again, I am sure, I know you are as well, sort of really grateful to those more experienced teams, those more established teams, that were able to kind of introduce newer players to an event of that nature. But it was not, as I say, there was a real buzz around it, and I mean, I haven't heard it, but no one's it's well versed. It's kind of common knowledge now that a lot of people like to play teams 40k. That is their preferred way to play. I didn't hear anyone coming away from this saying that they didn't enjoy the teams aspect. Everyone I spoke to or overheard or whatever it was said the teams aspect of it was good, whether it was, well established big beast teams into newbies, or two evenly matched teams. It all seemed really, really fantastically good natured, which I'm over the moon with.
I know there are quite a few other things that went well, but again, the main thing for us is actually we want to continue to develop, and kind of provide the best experience that we are capable of. So this is kind of a chance for us to reflect as well as celebrate what we've done well.
Yeah. And again, for those of you that are maybe new to this, or new to the sort of the Kent events, so kind of the Kent is like our third brand that has grown out of Gothic Games and Voidstorm. So again, there are things that I will do at Gothic that I like to do at Gothic that are established that won't be a feeture of Kent and vice versa. Just
like rolling
because...
mats inwards, yeah.
Oh my! Oh, I thought right. There was opening the packet of crisps upside down, and that wound me up. And then at the end, I can't even. When I'm at the Gothic tomorrow for the Wednesday sessions, when they hear about that, or if they listen to this now, yeah, rolling mats, pattern in,
keeps it nice and fresh. Looks all good.
No, you can't. It's too much friction. Anyway, other than that, and you know what? That was we had a good run that weekend until that happened.
We do have some of yours literally wouldn't go into the bag.
No,
if you did it that way.
Yeah, and they won't. And good, they shouldn't. That's not how mats are supposed to be rolled.
So things that would improve. The layout, like these are just my kind of four I kind of wrote down because otherwise I forget things. So the layout of the tables, and that's aside from the space. I think again, it was a new thing for us on that scale, whereby being able to, for the players, quickly identify where the pods of tables were. The only impact was I just had to tell people where they were, so it wasn't detrimental time-wise for me. But I think just making things more obvious. I
think it was more obvious to us when there was no one else in the hall because you could see it was color coded, but we hadn't made that explicit. And if you didn't see it, once you saw it, you saw it. Yeah. But again, as you say, it was kind of adapting to that space and getting used to the space, which you've now looked at optimizing.
Oh, I did it on SketchUp. I did a whole actually accurately drawn. I have too much time. Layout, so kind of just making sure that where we are changing things around, it doesn't compromise on the space, which is obviously a big selling point of the space.
We'd be idiots to run a premium Warhammer event that people have said we really enjoy the space and then get rid of the space. Yeah. That would.
Yeah. The other thing was the numbering of the tables, which was completely by accident. Clearly I was tired. Everything was ordered nicely, and then you got to table 12, 13, 14, 15, and for some reason, rather than do the numbers going outwards like the rest of the room, I did it so 12 started against the wall, which was just, from a logistical point, confused people slightly. But I was tired at 10 o'clock putting those numbers out. So
I was going to say that would have been around about in the evening when we were both quite tired. Again, for those who I was slightly delayed in arriving on Friday because my actual day job kept me a little bit later than I was anticipating. So all kind of like, lots of little factors, which, in the grand scheme of things, if, we'll learn for that. But as I say, we've mapped it out now, the next one, and we'll be able to, in the next pack, share the map of the hall with numbers because we know what it looks like now.
We kind of kept the awards in terms of trophies and things like that more simplified than we might do normally. Primarily, again, we didn't want to overpromise and underdeliver in that front or try and split focus too much, for a similar reason that we wanted to kind of get a really good baseline in an event and then kind of build upwards rather than try and do too much and then have to strip back.
We've got a good template now for example, introducing Best Army, Hobby Awards, maybe Most Sporting Team, things of that nature, which I think is very much the intention to do. But as you say, for us, it was just pulling off the event logistically, ensuring everyone was able to enjoy their games, have their games,
Yeah.
and sort of go from there. I think as well, bracket awards as well. We'd quite like, I think, next time um, for that, just to keep all teams. I know, not that teams weren't necessarily, but to try and keep all teams invested. Some bracket awards, but again, that'll be subject to the next one,
Yeah.
and numbers. And venues and things like that. Are we going to talk about that a little bit later, or do you want to talk about that now? Or
I think that comes under the what's next.
cool, cool, cool,
Quite
cool.
possibly. The other one was the projector position. Unfortunately, because I brought a backup projector, worst case scenario, because we didn't have the projector until we were in the room and all of the tables were out and everything was done. We kind of were quite limited as to where we could put the projector that the university kindly provided, which meant that the screen was very tiny. Both of us love having a big screen up, mostly for me at my event, so I remember what the time is, because I get distracted.
Oh, absolutely. For those countdowns, that visual reminder. It's
Yeah.
if you're in the heat of a game and you're really engaged, which we hope players are, then yeah, telling the time can get away with you. It's very, very easy to lose track. So yeah, we both at both of our events have large timers up, regular
so-
call outs as well.
Hopefully we can work out a location that means the screen is larger. It was viewable from anywhere in the hall, but you had to play kind of classic head weaving to
Crucially,
dodge
we
to
could
see
see it to give countouts
Yeah.
and timeouts. I mean, I think
That's the main
linking into that, I think you've already mentioned the timings, and it's odd. So like some tables or some they get their matchups actually done pretty quick, terrain pretty quick, and made the most of the play time. Other teams perhaps a little bit newer to it, a little bit longer with the pairings process, a little bit longer to check terrain, but we're still done in a timely fashion. So linking into that with the timings, there isn't necessarily something I necessarily change. Again, I know my events and to an extent yours, our individual events are a little bit more streamlined, but for a weekend like this, just to ensure that everyone gets to do what they need to do, I felt the timings on that were right.
Yeah. The other one that was kind of more of a odd, unexpected one was where I printed the layout so that there was one for each table layout. So you had layout 2, that was on a table, layout 3, etc. A couple of them went missing. I didn't have printed backups, so I set those tables up to save the players kind of hassle, basically. But having kind of reserve ones, but I was trying to be
I mean, I think
friendly.
there's also we can add, now that we know the layout, we can add things to the pack. No one will read it because obviously no one reads the pack, but we can put things in the pack, and the pack is always available electronically.
Oh, no, the layouts were sent to the captains. So the captains had those. Unfortunately, again, if you're trying to view it from a phone, it's very tiny. So that's why I printed them out, because it's easier to read. But it's just having kind of spares of that potentially, or something, just to mean, because if you haven't played on that table and you move to the table and that piece of paper's gone, that's not your fault.
Where are we with charging more for the ticket, but in that you get someone that sets up all your tables? Have we landed on that yet, or?
We haven't found someone that is willing to set up 100 potential tables. It feels a bit mean.
We'll keep working on it. Someone will want to set up those tables.
Is there anything else that kind of you specifically kind of thinking about wanting to improve? Or change?
Not in terms of improvement. I mean, these would be little things. So again, the university, and we're really, really grateful to them, the University of Kent, have been really sort of reflective. So even following our feedback again from August, and the feedback was more of a hot food offer in the hall. August had a lovely bar, but the food was it was fine, but it wasn't anything sort of special. This again, it's still quite basic in the grand scheme of things. There's nicer places on campus to eat and get lunch, and obviously we we're allowing people to bring their own food. So things like that. That said, not that alcohol was a huge part of the weekend. I think the people that drank were fine, but maybe something on draft. And I'm like, if that's the worst thing I can think of, draft alcohol. But again, the staff there were really helpful and friendly in terms of making sure that everyone was fed and watered. And And also, I'll mention it. Probably get out of the way now. I thought the toilet facilities were fantastic.
That is something that is not something we'd improve, but something that was great. The volume of toilets in that building is insane.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous how
I think if we really got down to it, we could allocate each team their own toilet,
quite
potentially.
Properly. Yeah.
There's enough, including that second floor. There's enough. So no, say improvements. Look, generally no, and that's not kind of let's patting ourselves on the back. We can go. So I've been thinking about it for a couple of days, and I'm sure I'll continue to think about it. But no.
No.
Again, I know we're still awaiting team back from captains, and again, people themselves, they've got home, they've had a couple of days to think about it, and might have that feedback. And please do, we're keen for that feedback. But based on our other events, I think we did learn a lot from August. Not to mention our own events leading up to that, so we try to sort of feed that and put that into each subsequent. And again, when we go to events and we can be inspired, or we see other events online and think, oh, that's pretty cool, well, just copy that, to be blunt, or that's cool, and we can understand why someone's done it, but we'd like to do it a slightly different way. Again, sort of feeding into our culture.
One of the other, what went well was, again, on reflection from the major, the number of bins was somewhat lacking at the major. So we petitioned the university very strongly, and they kind of responded and provided bins. And what was quite nice was there was very minimal rubbish at the end. People either took it with them, it looked like, or it was in the bins, so that was really good, that people kind of took care of the environment. So thank you to the players and the teams.
Thank
the
you. I was
bins
grateful.
were very full.
I didn't have to be too teachery or too mumsy. Some rubbish left at the end of the day on the Sunday. Everyone was tired. Again, I think we collected less rubbish at the end of that day than
the major.
So
it was mostly water bottle, like used water bottles and drinks bottles. So that was really good to see as well.
I think things that people forgot rather than left.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Just
the lack of lost property, in fact, was incredible.
Oh yeah.
It was basically none, which was great because I don't have to look after it. I think there was one jumper. Yeah.
One jumper, which I'm sure belongs to someone from Gothic. I think, but we'll find out. If you lost a jumper, please get in touch. Or if you'd like a jumper, first come, first served.
Yeah.
Do that.
So kind of the only other thing really is kind of what's next. This is again quite a brief little thing we're just going through. So in terms of the Kent teams, is the next event we are doing collaboratively. We both have events that exist. Prior to then, a good place to find out when they are is obviously each of our websites, and or the Team Hive Mind Discord has a lovely massive amount of channels that I get the joy of curating, that has kind of all of the different Kent and somewhat beyond when people ask me events that are available.
Scottish events, which I think is fantastic.
Scottish events, Black Crow Gaming, they reach out and get us to tag a couple in. South Coast, so they're the kind of ones that go out.
Well,
Napalm
are active. I think they've.
So there are a few that extend beyond Kent's kind of offerings that people kind of ask me to, and I'm always happy to, because if it helps kind of support events, that's kind of the only reason that Discord exists.
What's that phrase? Is it riding tide? Is it rising tide helps all ships, floats all ships?
It does. Unless
very
it's
tide. I normally get my ship analogies, boat analogies on point. But yes, there's. I mean, so again, we know locally, so using KCC number of participants. So before this weekend, it was on over. I want to say over 200 players. That's 200 players based in Kent, with maybe the odd player that travels from London frequently. After this weekend, I think it's just shy of 300 players now. So again, we feel very lucky, very privileged to be able to run different types of events that can cater to different audiences or different moods or what people want. So, for example, your next one in January is teams. And again, my guys locally, I've said, well, no, you're really enjoying teams. Pop along to the teams. For Gothic, we've got a lot of people again that will attend their first events, even coming up at the end of this month. I think probably about a third of the players, it's their first ever event, which is absolutely fantastic. So we feel really sort of lucky to do that, but we like to be able to cater for everyone. Um, Not everyone is going to be interested in or be keen on every single type of event. It's just the nature of it. Myself personally, I'm not a huge fan of doubles, but I know quite a lot of people like doubles, and other people do doubles. I might squeeze one onto the calendar next year. But yeah, doing our individual events. But what
There's,
have we got next in the pipeline for teams?
speaking of, well, before we teams in doubles, there is the potential for the Kent Major that there may be on the Friday a doubles event alongside an RTT. Again, depending on interest, will depend on obviously what we add as that kind of offering for the Friday. Because I know a lot of people after the event spoke to me asking if that could be something that's considered as an option. Just because for some they don't want to play 9 games or 8 games, depending on number of rounds of kind of full-on competitive Warhammer. Some of them want to, take the Friday a bit more casually and do kind of a double. So there is that potential. But the next one is the Kent teams, which we're very much kind of on a fence at the moment. Where I say we've been discussing. It's only been 2 days. We are working out whether we do go back to the sports centre or we continue with the booking we've made for the Darwin Conference Centre suite, which is the Kent Major venue currently.
Yeah.
So
as a minimum, so like quote unquote worst case, the March teams is taking place in Darwin. With its capacity of, I think it's 18 teams is our capacity in Darwin. Again, without it being too cosy, we hope. Again, we were very aware that the feedback from the major was a bit cosy for various reasons we won't go into now. Just tables were a bit too wide than what we ordered. So we've got that. However, we really enjoyed running the event in the sports hall, and we think the feedback from the sports hall was really good. It is a superior venue. However, that obviously does come at quite a commercial commitment. So again, without sort of going into details in that, and we're happy to run it. We were happy to run this one, but it's sort of, yeah. I suppose it all depends on that support and that interest. We've got like a little window where, again, the university really graciously have said, look, you've got until date X to finally decide. I think as the days are going on, and obviously we're still in that bubble, but I think, and we've not spoken explicitly about this, I think, since Sunday, but our preference would be to do it in the sports hall again.
Yes.
If we can hit those similar numbers to what we've just hit in the past weekend. If we were confident in that, then yes. But again, it's new for us in that we don't know how the calendar, the peaks and troughs. Again, we know of our individual events because we've been running those. We know our communities. These are kind of relying a large part from beyond our communities, or at least our local communities. So it's hard to gauge it.
Yeah, it's why the date that the event is on was chosen to be enough of a break point from at the time of booking. What other larger events were on around the country, particularly teams events, because obviously they are going to obviously conflict if they do. So kind of again, we wanted to kind of give people the opportunity to kind of choose to be able to go to both if they wanted to, without it being a conflict. So yeah, it's kind of, for us now, it is just that making the decision really on which one we go for. Obviously we will, as soon as it's confirmed, communicate it widely to the public, so that everyone is aware of which one has been confirmed. But as Dan said,
that
as
will
a minimum,
it has to be. It's before Christmas.
Yeah.
Can't remember the exact date off the top of my head, but that'll be imminently. I know it's before the end of term, so people won't have to wait too long. If you're on the fence, or if you're wondering, well, we'd like to go back, but we'd rather it was in the sports hall, it is helpful to let us know. But we will be able to confirm that. Probably the latest second week of December, I think.
Yeah, it's a sooner rather than later decision we will make, because we have to, and also we don't want to keep people waiting in the unknown.
Yeah.
The first ticket has already been sold, so it's.
Was that the winners have got that? Didn't they?
No, that was the Tunbridge Wells team, led by Ewan. I can't remember where they came off the top. They were in the kind of top 4 of the final part of the event. But I don't know where they,
Sure.
off the top of my head, where they finally placed. They did face off against the winners, War Masters.
Oh, sorry, of course, yeah, it was more. Yeah, I suppose so the venue we were not we'd like. So it would either be Darwin or the sports hall. I suppose the elephant in the room, which again we're not decided on. Feedback from you guys listening to this right now would be really, really, really helpful. As you know, we adopted WTC style terrain because that is standard terrain for 4 teams. It works really, really well for teams. Again, on a personal level, it's closer to GW terrain than some other larger events. However, we didn't adopt their rules pack. And again,
Specifically
locally,
the 10th edition charging guide, as they call it.
yes. So for those of you, well, I'm going to assume if you're listening or watching this, you know what that is. If you don't, James, do you want to explain briefly what that is?
So it was created
not sure.
by the captains of WTC alongside the WTC. So all the different countries' captains and the WTC work together to create the rules pack so that it's all agreed and everyone's happy. It was decided that to create more interactive games and to diversify playstyle as well as balance a few things, they introduced for infantry and beasts only a slight variation to the charging whereby you can't be an inch away from the wall and unchargeable, primarily because it can create an uninteractive game and create some strange game states. So that's in a nutshell what they've done. My plan is, if it was to be adopted, would be to create a play-by-play video version that just helps people to understand it in a practical way. So again, much like I did the video for pairings, it makes life easier for people to come along because they've seen what it looks like, because it is quite daunting going to an event if you don't know how something works or where something is. So as it says on the kind of the next part, I want to create as much pre-event content as people feel they need, and I'm reasonably able to, that allows people to feel confident the moment they step into the room. So again, it creates that good atmosphere, that good vibe where no one realises 10 minutes in that something's not what they expected or thought, because again, it's probably in the rules pack, but that doesn't mean that it helps everyone to understand it just because they've read it.
Yeah, I mean, again, for us, our emphasis for this event was more the logistics of an event with those other things layered in. Dare I say, for most, again, our local community, most players have not played on, or have not played with WTC rules, or WTC FAQs, or even kind of know they exist or know they're a different thing. We've kind of broken that down now. That is out there. It's in the wild. There are, obviously there's all kinds of other things to consider. We don't know what the nature of the game is going to look like. We're expecting a balanced data slate coming up and all sorts. Again, for myself personally, less so representing Kent events, but more so is that over the years, WTC have done a fantastic job at providing kind of a bit of a North Star or compass in trying to make the games balanced and engaging. Games Workshop seem to be trying to do that themselves these days. But, I don't know. I'm not privy to anything. So again, it's one of these things of laugh.
It would make life easier if we were, wouldn't it? If we knew what was
really
coming.
Would. So yeah, so we're not sure. I mean, if I won't speculate on this particular broadcast. But yeah, it's something we're aware of. I mean, again, if you're a team and you're out there and you really, really want the 2-inch rule, buy loads of tickets now and we'll do it.
And tell us.
Tell us,
that's what you like.
Yeah,
Because
look,
if no one tells us that's what they want...
We've sent teams 2 inches. Vote with your wallets, guys. That's what we want. I sound really mercenary there. No, it's just because we really like the sports hall, but very, very expensive.
Yeah. Again, it might be a case of we look at the just implementing the WTC charging guide, because that is separate to the WTC FAQ, which generally 90% of the time aligns with GW. Most of it goes into a little bit more explanation, to just make it clearer for the players to save time, but we might not add that and only add the charging guide, because again, that's
WTC. I'm not aware of any big FAQs that fundamentally shift things.
So there. Oh no! It's mostly around things like to do with the leadership check for the demons. It's the opposite in terms of whether they when you. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. There's a certain battle shock check they have to take, which if they that's it, the battle shock step. If they auto pass it, normally you don't get it. In WTC you do get the healing, and there's one or two other like little variations like that that don't massively impact things, whereas the charging guide a lot of people feel does. So this is what we're reviewing currently, because it's it's a big thing, and we want to make sure that it's implemented correctly, fairly, and everyone feels confident about it, because we don't want anyone to feel confused on the day or surprised.
No, and I think the thing, we will ask as well, and much as the more experienced teams did with like pairings and things like that, we would ask for grace from those more experienced teams for understanding with newer players. Events are only going to grow, and events are only going to get better if we have more players. So if you alienate others or belittle them or make people feel stupid because they didn't know some niche rules from, I mean, again, I'm going to I'm paraphrasing a statistic here, but if you take all of the games, I think on BCP alone, it's like less than 1% of them are played at a team's event. So then it's fewer than 1% of games are played with WTC format. That's not, I know it is popular, don't get me wrong, sort of locally, but the vast majority of games of 40k are not played WTC or WTC rules.
Unless you live in France, Poland, Australia, Canada. The French league is all engineered around it. It's really cool. There's a couple of guys I've kind of listened to, which is where England is kind of building to. There is a lot more with the WTC England team. They're doing a lot more kind of engagement. There's a lot more development, which is great. The French setup is amazing for their WTC.
It is, and obviously ourselves. I'm Gothic Games as an official sponsor of the WTC. You're an official licensee. So don't be wrong. We are all in with WTC, but it's about, again, go back to that term culture, and trying to kind of bring people with us rather than impose it on people. But again, we'd love to hear your feedback on that.
Yeah, and that is the main thing for us is keeping that atmosphere, and that's kind of And then the one after that is the Kent Major, which will be using GW layouts because it might be 11th edition.
it will be 40k.
Unless they advance and we go to 50k, who knows? Jump 10,000 years.
Wow, no.
That would involve doing a lot of story between now and whenever it's coming out. But there is a.
I would walk 500 worlds, and I would. That's been playing in my head since I saw the preview.
Yeah. So again, it's the major is going to be the similar format to what it was last year. In terms of there will be 5/6 rounds. Again, we're debating whether it's 6 rounds for everyone, because we were literally gobsmacked when people asked and kind of feel like
two-thirds of 60 players said yes, please.
Something like 80 people in the final round. It was 8 out of 100.
Yeah,
which,
I think
we were impressed.
Yeah, I think we're leaning. It will probably be a yes. Obviously, it's a slight difference, and like I say this selfishly, the Kent Major takes place when I'm on half term, so I have the preceding week to sort of sort things out with the university and be there, plus a week to recover. which I'm really feeling this week. To recover after this weekend would have been really helpful. So yeah,
Yeah,
very
it's
glad
one
I'm
of
not
those
running
where
an
we'd like
RGT
to.
this Saturday.
And again, this year we are going to do the 6th round, though. There will be a literal top cut either way. So it breaks out the kind of top performing players into kind of a more traditional style that you have at events. For pairings and kind of generally placings and things like that, where people have potentially, got right to the end and then drop a few placings in the last round. So we're trying to kind of alter things up and kind of work on that. Otherwise, if 11th edition isn't released, it'll be whatever the new 10th edition pack is, and if it's 11th edition, it will be whatever that looks like.
Well, obviously we can't confirm, but with regards to the August Major, my last conversation suggested, I've got to be very careful what I say here, my last conversation with Games Workshop suggested it will be another golden ticket event. And if it is another golden ticket event, then we are hoping to be able to obviously cover more towards the plane ticket. We have sent a golden ticket winner who's just got back from WCW, but obviously that was for the AOS event. For various reasons, the 40k players were not able to go. But certainly for those of you that are thinking about it, yes, next year, hopefully we'll be able to cover more of your plane ticket, assuming it's in Atlanta next year, which probably is. But again, who knows?
No one knows. Except Games Workshop probably knows. Hopefully they know where it's going to be and they've started planning. But yeah, that's kind of the main thing. Something else I'd like to do is pre-event content. As I mentioned, if we're using the charging guide, I want to create content around that so that everyone can kind of turn up to the event with that equity of accessibility, so that they feel confident. What other pre-event content might exist, I don't know. It might be if 11th edition came out and there were whole new terrain rules, for example, I might do something based around terrain rules. I will probably also do something around terrain rules for the Kent Team's spring event, just to go through some of the WTC terrain, because it's the only mass terrain system, because some people obviously for their own
45-minute video on containers.
Yeah, exactly. How do containers function?
It's a series on containers.
Are they true line of sight or not? Who knows? As well as kind of just little bits around it. But yeah, again, that's kind of the main thing with that. I think the terrain and the charging guide. Obviously, if there is other content people wanted, we can look at creating it. Yeah, I can't. It's always the mine in the gutter. If there's obviously anything else, do email myself, contact@voidstormgames.co.uk, and correct me if I'm wrong, events@gothicgamescanterbury.co.uk.
Correct, yes. I mean, we are sharing emails anyway. Again, we might get to the point where we set up a Kent email, that sort of things. All those kind of little things just to make things easier and support and things like that. But
eventually we might actually come up with a brand name in 5 to 10
years. We
don't
know. We just keep calling it the Kent events, the Kent teams and the Kent major. We haven't thought of a big sort of name.
No, we've got our branding colours. We just haven't got a name.
Colours.
We've got everything.
We've got a weird octopus man on it.
Yeah,
but we haven't got an overall name yet.
No. It's just not come to us. But I think there's anything else at all? I think kind of.
No, again, just another huge thank you to those of you that have sort of listened to this. Even if you didn't get an opportunity to attend at the weekend, sort of that engagement is sort of really, really helpful. But truly, we're just sort of open and we're here. We just love putting on games. We love watching and listening to people play games and have fantastic times. I still there's more positive stories to come from it. So, just truly, sincerely, thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone.